Uniformed personnel.
Please stand.
Order.
March.
Welcome, everybody. Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for this day. I don't know that the community even appreciates or understands just how much free service they've gotten, but we're here to honor our members and our organization. And we ask you to bless us. We know that it hasn't gone unnoticed by you, all the hours that people have put in, and we appreciate all your help. And thank you for this day. Amen.
If we could please have a moment of silence. You guys can be seated.
Good morning, everyone. Despite the weather, this is a great event. This is a milestone in one of the most important parts of Harford County. This is a milestone for a membership that has dedicated 100 years of service to the citizens of Abingdon, Edgewood, and the greater Harford County communities. With that, we are eternally grateful as fellow citizens and residents of Harford County. We have with us today our own Harford County Fire and EMS Honor Guard, and again, we thank them for their participation and their service in support of Abingdon Fire Company and their centennial celebration today. Under our invited list today, our County Executive Bob Casserly, Council President Pat Vincenti, Councilperson Jacob Bennett, who I did see, good morning, Councilperson Yolanda Robert, Delegate Susan McComas, Director of Emergency Services for Harford County Rick Ayers, past President and past Chief of the Jarrettsville Volunteer Fire Company, past President of the Maryland State Firearms Association, past President of the Harford County Volunteer Fire and EMS Association, Ben Kurtz, Harford Cecil President Joe Price, Representing the office of Senator Chris Van Hollen, Bart Kennedy, the community liaison for our area. Aberdeen's Fire Chief Josh Montague. Operations Chief of the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, a critical partner in the fire service delivery to Harford County, Chief Steve Cox. Abingdon Fire Company President Nate Irvin. Past board member Steve Eldhall. And a pillar of the community, past chief, life member, and all-around good guy, Howard McComas. Chip Riley, longtime friend personally, past captain of Abingdon, and the son of none other than our honored past president, past chief, past president of the State Association, Charles W. Riley. Bill Dusa, past president and secretary for the Abingdon Fire Company. And the guy that kind of led the charge to put this all together today, running around here, stood behind me a few minutes ago, was Rick Hampton, past president of Abingdon Fire Company. We wish to thank the following community supporters for your attendance and your attention and your overall thanks to this organization. Cater Bullseye for the food this afternoon, Kona Ice, our good friends and partners for longer than I care to remember, the Harford Cable, Harford TV Network, and we have a DJ, Music Medic, who's providing the background and our audio for today's program. At this point in time, I'd ask Councilperson Jacob Bennett to come to the podium, please.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here today as part of this honor and celebration. 100 years is a tremendous accomplishment. At 100 years, it means no matter how long you've been involved, somebody came before you to lay the way. At 100 years, it means no matter how new you are to this association, there's somebody who's going to be coming after you. What a tremendous commitment to our community. What a tremendous reminder that our community is so much larger than any one of us individually. And, you know, in my day job as a kindergarten teacher, I watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood every afternoon. And one of his songs says, "There are many ways to say I love you." And I think what a tremendous way to show our community your love for us and the time that you give and the risks that you take and the sacrifices you make so that all of us can rest easy when we go to bed each night, knowing that if something goes wrong, there are people here who are willing to take care of us. Thank you all for all that you do. We as a county council appreciate you. And as your association knows, if there's ever a way I can advocate for you or support you, that is what we are here to do. It's a small price to pay for all that you give back in return. So thank you all this morning for allowing us to be a part of your celebration.
I would ask County Executive Bob Castley to come to the podium, please.
What you all have been doing out here is fantastic, having the fire company for 100 years strong. When I look at, you know, we have volunteer groups that, you know, they come and they go, and they come and they go. And the challenges of keeping a company together where people are getting paid for it are tough beyond 20 or 30 years. But to be able to keep a volunteer operation together and how many, the legacy and what that takes, the shoulders it takes to stand upon to keep a volunteer operation, especially one that's as demanding as a volunteer fire company, right? These are not show up and just do a few little things. This is show up and risk your life. Show up at 2 in the morning, duck out on your fourth anniversary, those kind of things. To keep an operation like this up and alive and successful for 100 years is really remarkable when you think about it. And I look at the sacrifices that our volunteers make and the commitments that you all make. It's really beautiful. And whenever I speak to volunteer organizations throughout the county, I always hold our volunteer fire companies up as the epitome. This is the spirit that makes Harford County great. We got a lot of great volunteers, people volunteering in churches and parks and rec, and a lot of really notable organization. But nobody compares to the level of commitment that you all have to show. And to do that for 100 years consistently is truly remarkable. So I want to thank the folks on who you stand. They're all gone, but appreciate their legacy, those great people. The folks who are no longer active, who are here, who are legacy members from this company. And then the active folks, and for the younger folks in the crowd, thank you. Thank you. And these today, our volunteer spirit, not just in our fire companies, but across the county, the state, and the world, is waning. There's too many distractions. And for the younger folks to step in, thanks for bucking the tide. Thanks for being here. Thanks for standing back up. You are the future. It will continue to matter what we're volunteering, what we show, the character that we show in our community will continue to matter extensively. And the character that you all display is just absolutely beautiful. So on behalf of the citizens of Harford County, who I represent, I want to thank you all for everything that you do, you continue to do. I look forward to seeing our new house up and full. Are we okay? Look, it's looking beautiful down there. It's come along very nice. So look forward to working with you on that. And to the next 100 years, let's go, right? The fire bell just dinged. We're teeing up for the next 100 years. So we're excited for that and what this can become. And I'm excited for this community. So, all right, with that, he's got a proclamation. We'll bring the proclamation. Oh, you got it right here.
Thank you, County Executive Cashley, for those wonderful words. I see where our council president, Mr. Pat Vincenti's just arrived, so I'm going to ask him to come to the podium right now, if you would, please, sir.
I've got Councilwoman Nalanda Robert with me. We wanted to stop by and congratulate you on your 100th anniversary. We truly appreciate all that you do to service the citizens of not only the Abingdon area, but Harford County as a whole. We really appreciate what you do. You are absolutely at the top of the list of what makes Harford County a great place to live, learn. Councilman Bennett, I didn't even see you sitting there. Come on up. You spoke already. All right.
I'll leave the stage twice.
There you go. There you go. But no, we truly appreciate all you guys do, and couldn't imagine our county without all of you in it. So, Tom, thank you as well. Cubby, thank you. Appreciate you guys very much. Howard, I see you sitting there too. Good to see you too, sir. All right. Well, thank you very much. You want to say something?
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work, dedication, and everything you do for the community. I'm in the Edgewood community. So, again, thank you for your service.
I have had the opportunity, the privilege of representing Abingdon for a little while. And just want to say, y'all do a wonderful job. I know it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers because it's all about the money, honey. But the point is you have a wonderful organization. And I think that one thing you might want to consider doing is to advertise that if the kids join the fire company, they can learn good skills, they can learn good management, they can learn the idea of being on time, which is important because I think a lot of people, you know, they're into the computer age, the iPhones, the social media and everything, and they just, you know, lack good discipline and skills. And I think the other thing is that you can get wonderful, wonderful training. As far as emergency medicine, as taking care of folks, how to handle a fire, how to handle other emergencies that from time to time the community has to deal with. Now, I will just tell you one thing. My family, I wasn't there, which was probably good. I was down in Annapolis, but we had a fire at our house. It was an electrical fire. And it did a lot of smoke damage. And I never realized that smoke damage, you have to pretty much take the floorboards up, take the tile up, take some of the walls up, and it did a lot of damage. The other thing, I had the opportunity to go to the memorial ceremony that they had down in Annapolis. And it was very, 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 what do I want to say? Just very, very memorable. And the other thing that I heard was that I know that our firemen deal with a lot of toxic materials. And so I'm going to be, and I think several of the gentlemen died from cancer. And I'm sure it was because of their service. So we need to make sure that we protect our fire companies and that they get the proper medical service. So with that, I want to present a, and I'm on appropriations, which is a whole nother world because I was on the House Judiciary Committee and I loved it. And I'm already being accused of being on the committee in appropriations because it's a totally different world. But most of the occupational things go through either health and government or they go through economic matters. And we have Steve Johnson's on the, and Teresa Riley are on the Health and Government Operations Committee, and Andre Johnson is on the Economic Matters. So with that, I would like to present a Maryland General Assembly official citation. Be it hereby known to all that sincerest congratulations are offered to the Abingdon Fire Company in recognition of the 100th anniversary of your fire company. The Harford County Delegations thanks you for your service and salutes your dedication to our community. And 100 years is a wonderful beginning, and we hope you get the next 100 years. I know none of us are going to be here, but maybe we'll be upstairs. Hopefully we'll be upstairs and not downstairs. And this is signed by Vice Chair Teresa Riley, myself, the Vice Chair, Lauren Erican, Mike Griffith, Andre Johnson Jr., and Steve Johnson. So we congratulate you all. And so if there's anything that we've got one more session for this term, anything you think we need to do for the volunteers or something that we need to put in that is maybe just special to Harford County, please come to the delegation. If it's general, we'll be glad to put it in for you. So thank you very much.
One of the most critical partners that we have in the fire and EMS service in Harford County is law enforcement. I would dare say that probably 30% of our EMS calls countywide require some sort of involvement from the law enforcement community. And we are so fortunate that we have a very dedicated, we have a very active, and a very interpersonal group of folks that we work with on an hourly basis within the Harford County Sheriff's Office. And not to mention our partners with the Maryland State Police, both Bel Air Barrack and JFK, and the three municipalities of Aberdeen, Haverty-Grass, and Bel Air. But I think the lion's share of the calls that we receive that involve law enforcement, we're relying on somebody showing up in a blue and white car. And with that, I'd like to turn the podium over and welcome Sheriff Jeff Gaylor to the podium for remarks.
Thank you, Tom, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invitation to be a part of today's celebration, a very notable milestone, 100 years. As I look at the equipment here in the bay behind me, I'm reflecting on how the profession, whether it's EMS, whether it's fire, whether it's policing, how the profession is so much different than when I came into law enforcement 40 years ago, or probably when you all joined 100 years ago. They fought fires much differently. How much more technical, how much more expertise goes into the men and women that we need to put in these vehicles, again, whether it's fire, fighting a fire, or EMS, how much more skilled we are asking, I want to say the young people, but there's volunteers here who, like me, don't necessarily fit into that category, such a specialized thing. And the fact that across this county, we rely on the volunteers for this company who for 100 years have given back. It makes me think, we just celebrated the 250th of the Sheriff's Office last year. What do we do with 150 years without you? And we all know that there was no without you, because there were men and women coming out to provide those services, to meet those crises every single day from the time our county was first formed. And but when you came together in 1925 and formed this company, the fact that the volunteers of this community, of Abingdon, of Edgewood, all come together to serve the community through the goodness of their hearts. And it's not just coming here when the bell goes off or the radio alerts and running to a truck. All the training, all the specialized expertise that comes with each field, that also comes through volunteering times away from so many other things that other people prioritize, their family time, recreational time with kids, vacations, and members of this community, of this company, have made it their priority, the public safety. And as a public safety official, that is always first and foremost in my mind. I did want to thank you again for the invitation to have our bagpiper, Sergeant Brad Civis, participate in today. I think that the bagpipes are something we added a few years ago, and it adds such an emotional to the honor guard. It adds such an emotional tie. So thank you for having us. I do have a sheriff's salute to present. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but suffice to say, on behalf of the nearly 700 men and women of the Harford County Sheriff's Office, we are honored to stand with you every single day and simply amazed at the services that you provide to our community. So thank you for the past 100 years.
Sheriff, I do have a quick answer to one of your little trivia questions that you posted before you leave. Over 100 years ago, if you read social media and look at, you may have grown up in Harford County. I don't know if you follow that or not. You need to, because it tells you exactly what happened before companies like this formed. Nobody came. Nobody came. Your neighbors or yourself. That was it. So it's an interesting read. We post stuff up there on a regular basis.
I'll check it out. God bless you, and God bless you all for what you did.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm going to welcome up a true partner. We work as one. I don't think there's a I'll call it a line between us, because one cannot function without the other. Everything from our 911 call center to the dispatching of fire and EMS calls and law enforcement calls within the confines of the county and without, to the administration and operations of our career emergency medical services component of Harford County. I'd ask a really good guy and a long-standing member of this organization, Director Rick Ayers from the Harford County Department of Emergency Services, to come forward.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to say, because recognizing a century of service is hard to put into words. I mean, 100 years of anything is a long time, but 100 years of volunteering to save lives, put out fires, rescue people from vehicles, etc., is not your normal citizen duty. I don't mean to take away from what other people in the community might decide to help out in, but it can't compare to what the women and men of the Abingdon Volunteer Fire Company have did over the last 100 years to help not only their community, but Harford County as a whole. In the beginning, before Abingdon Fire Company was born, the area was serviced mostly by the Aberdeen and Bel Air Volunteer Fire Companies. There was no dispatch center or radios, so response times were long, and even notifying the volunteers of a call was difficult. Believe it or not, dispatching and radios and equipment didn't happen until the 1950s. I've got to work alongside of you for almost half of your 100 years. See, I started working with the Department of Emergency Services 42 years ago. So I've got to witness firsthand the importance of the Abingdon Volunteer Fire Company and how you've evolved over the years. Harford County has over 260,000 citizens living here and are relying heavily on our volunteer fire companies. And many citizens, when you call 911 and you show up, they're surprised to even know that you're a volunteer. Abingdon Fire Company just happens to be one of the busiest companies in the county. And as the director of DES, I want to support you in any way possible, whether it's through our dispatch center, EMS, our special operations team, emergency management, training, whatever I can do to develop a close relationship for many years to come. As an example, the new Bell Camp Riverside Station is a county-funded fire station to help support this growing community and fire company. My agency is helping Abingdon and their recruitment efforts in this area, so when the station opens, hopefully later this year, it will serve a critical area of need in the county. Whether it was 100 years ago in 1925, or where we stand here today celebrating your 100th anniversary, one thing never changes. We are here to honor the volunteers who sacrifice their time and energy to help others. I want to wish you continued success in the years ahead and hope for your continued dedication to not only the Abingdon Volunteer Fire Company, but all of the citizens of Harford County. Thank you so much.
At this time, I would ask the past president of the Maryland State Firefighters Association, Mr. Ben Kurtz, to come forward, please.
Good morning. On behalf of President Skip Carey and the rest of the officers of the Maryland State Firemen's Association, I bring you greetings and congratulations on your 100 years of service. To Abingdon Fire Company, you have served the community of Abingdon and Harford County for 100 years of faithful service. From your oldest life member, who is still here, to your probationary member, be proud of your fire company. I'd like to bring up two members of Abingdon who are no longer with us, but served faithfully and a long time with the Maryland State Firefighters Association. The first one I want to mention is Lou Espy. Those of you that remember Lou, quiet man, but he was well involved in the fire prevention, not just here in Harford County and Abingdon, but in the Maryland State Firefighters Association as well. Lou was chair of that committee for many, many years. The second person, certainly not least, is Charlie Riley. Charlie served on the executive committee of the MSFA. He went through the chairs, ascending to president in 83 and 84. Charlie then was elected trustee and became chairman of the board of trustees. The trustees oversee line of duty death benefits and line of duty injury benefits. Charlie held that position until his death. But one of the things that is the pinnacle of Charlie's career is Charlie served on the legislative committee in Annapolis. Charlie chaired that committee for many, many years and was bestowed the honor of chairman emeritus. The benefits we still have today because of Charlie's hard work in Annapolis. The low interest loan program to purchase apparatus. The income tax incentive that we have annually once you make your LoSAP 50 points, your income tax deduction. That's all because of Charlie's work. I want to thank you for the opportunity of inviting me here today, and I have a plaque I would like to present to the Abingdon Fire Company. This token of appreciation for Maryland State Firefighters Association special recognition to Abingdon Fire Company Incorporated. The officers and members of the Maryland State Firemen's Association offer their sincerest congratulations on your 100th anniversary, presented the 7th day of June 2025, signed by W. Newton Skip Carey, Jr., President. Mr. President.
And I'm here representing Congressman Andy Harris. I'm proud to be here. He did want to recognize the 100 years of service with this certificate. And in honor of this great occasion, he did send an American flag that was flown over Congress. So I'd like to present that. And then we've got a certificate of authenticity for the flag.
I would would ask for the president of the Hartford Cecil Volunteer Firefighters Association, Mr. Joe Price, to come to the podium, please.
Good morning. Certainly an honor and privilege to be here in recognition of Abingdon Fire Company's 100th anniversary. I bring you greetings from the Hartford Cecil Firemen's Association, the officers, and also the 22 member companies from Hartford County and Cecil County. It's certainly a great day for Abingdon in recognition of 100 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Abingdon and Hartford County. Not only 100 years, but there's also been a partnership between Abingdon, other fire companies, law enforcement, the community, and also the partnership with Hartford Cecil as we work together with the legislature to develop and implement and work towards implementing better bills and laws to assist the volunteers in the execution of their duties day in and day out. And again, congratulations on 100 years of success. Wish you many, many more years of continued success. And with that, I have a presentation to make. On behalf of the Hartford Cecil Volunteer Firemen's Association, we hereby recognize the Abingdon Fire Company on their 100th anniversary, dated June 7th, 2025. Again, congratulations.
Just so everyone knows, we do have a proclamation congratulating the fire company on behalf of Senator Van Hollen's office that will be displayed today and for future review here at the fire station. I want to change hats for a minute because as of the end of March, I took back over as president of the Hartford County Volunteer Fire and EMS Association. And as the county executive, the sheriff, and the state association, and everybody else that's spoken here this morning has stated, and I'll simply restate the obvious, it's a challenge. I don't care if you've got 50 years in this business like myself, Ben, Covey, Steve Cox, and a few other notable folks here today, Howard McComas especially. It's a challenge to keep interest. It's a challenge to maintain the tenured members because we have a significant investment. They have a significant investment in the respective organizations throughout this county. Training. When I took basic fire training in 1976, it was 64 hours. Right, Steve? Give or take? Okay. I took EMT, it was 84 hours in 1977. It's now 208. Balance that with family, 2 incomes, sports, school, extracurricular activities to include family vacations and so forth. It's not easy. Somehow we prevail. We're a little thin some days. We rely on everyone's help. No one is above calling for help. Nowhere in this county, nowhere, anywhere. The border of the gunpowder was basically erased with a pencil several years ago. We run across the border all day long. We have a great partnership with the Aberdeen Proving Ground Fire Department. It couldn't be done, as they say, it takes a village. Well, Hartford County is one big village in my mind. And the association, with myself as president, Kevin Thomas from Joppa Magnolia, who's the vice president, Sandy Gallion, the president of Level, who was the secretary of the association, and Chuck Moore, who is the treasurer from Whiteford Volunteer Fire Company. The 4 executive officers, in conjunction with the 12 member organizations that form the association, are really proud every day. We are our own worst critic, and that's okay to a point. But we must and will stand united as an organization. 12 companies united as one for the common good, and that common good is the welfare and the benefit and the safety of the citizens and visitors to Hartford County, Maryland, or wherever else we may be called to perform duty. We're extremely blessed to have the support of our county council, the county executive, our allied partners within law enforcement and other community organizations. To the members of Abington, I will ask you this today, and many of you in this room I've known longer than I care to tell. Recommit yourself today, this 100th anniversary, to service delivery, mission above self. Put the interest of your company, your community, ahead of personal agendas. One thing our executive board has deemed from day one was mission above agenda, no matter what. We can't do it alone. We can only achieve this together. We have had several conversations, both internally and externally, and the focus must remain the same. We can remain viable. We can thrive, but we can only do so without the commitment of the members involved and the mission to prevail above all. And with that said, I noticed we had a few later arrivals, probably because they had a call. I see Chief Josh Montague and President Donnie Collier from Aberdeen Fire Department walked in. Thank you, Donnie. Aberdeen, what a great partner. Thank you all so much. At this time, I'm going to turn the podium over to the Operations Chief of the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, based in College Park, Maryland, Chief of the Bel Air Volunteer Fire Company, past President of the Maryland State Firefighters Association, Hartford Cecil Association, and the Hartford County Fire and EMS Association, Chief Steve Cox.
Thank you, Tom. First of all, on behalf of Director Mike Cox, no relation. He keeps saying we're brothers from another mother, but on behalf of Mike, the entire faculty and staff of the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, congratulations to Abingdon Fire Company for 100 years of service to the community. And before I get into what I prepared and what I was requested to talk about, I want to stop for just a second. Delegate McComas, you talked about the fire at your house. And yes, Bel Air Fire Company was there. Abingdon Fire Company was there. As the president indicated, we're united as one. When we received the alert, they received the alert, and they were there in partnership with us. So a lot's been said about training and what's required of our emergency services personnel. I was asked to give a brief history of training throughout the state of Maryland. If you'll please bear with me, I think it'll help you understand what our personnel in Hartford County, especially Abingdon Fire Company, do for their training. And more importantly, I'm going to talk about a couple areas where Charlie Raleigh from Abington, as Chief of Abington, was very much involved in why we do what we do today. Today's state fire and rescue training and education program came into existence more than 90 years ago. Marylanders involved with fire suppression activities were eager for instruction and had a strong desire to learn more about firefighting skills and operations of a fire company. That spirit and relationship to the emergency services continues through today, growing stronger and expanding immensely as thousands of fire rescue emergency medical personnel seek enrollment and instruction in the many course offerings of the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute of the University of Maryland. The technological changes alone that have occurred in the past 95 years and that continue to occur daily have had an immense impact on training and education, whether it be in engineering, petrochemical industry, transportation, building construction, communications, food processing, our nation's infrastructure, electronics or health, human services, and development. There's a potential need for the services of highly trained, well-equipped fire rescue service personnel, some of whom require additional credentials such as licensing, certification, and successful completion of special programs. Not quite as old as we think with the entire fire service throughout the nation, but But in 1929, members of the Maryland State Firemen's Association assembled at the state convention and identified fire training needs of that time, certainly different than the needs we have today and that we face today. Decision was made by the association to propose a formalized and standardized instruction in fire suppression through courses that could be developed and offered by the state. That seemed to be what germinated and ultimately became the State Fire Rescue Training Program for Emergency Services. Members of the MSFA Fire College Committee met with the president of the University of Maryland and the dean of college engineering. The committee developed and provided the university with a basic plan of action and implemented for the implementation of fire training program. As a result, the Fire College conducted programs from 1930 to 1937. The Fire Service Extension Department of the College of Engineering then took over the training from 1937 to 1975. And the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute was created in 1975 and continues to provide those training programs to our emergency responders. Here's the important part. The MSFA report of the President's Special Committee for the Development of Firefighting and Rescue Education, Training, and Facilities Program in 1971 and 72, volumes 1 and 2, known as the 10-year plan, support the Extension Department, enabling the university and state government to expand the program. Charlie Riley sat on that commission. Charlie helped write that. In 1973, the Fire Service Extension Department and the document, Development of a Regional Training Center Concept, Fire Rescue Service Education and Training for the state of Maryland, coupled with the MSFA 10-year plan, nurtured the joint resolutions in the Maryland General Assembly in 1974 and 75, calling for the governor to appoint a special commission to study the fire service of Maryland and make recommendations on the training and education needs. Chief Riley from Abingdon Volunteer Fire Company served on the development of both of those plans. The building and renovation program requirements for the Fire Service Extension Department Plan of 1973 set forth the remodeling and new construction requirements for the College Park Training Academy that was completed in 1990. One of the most significant events in the history of the state training program, as I mentioned, occurred in July 1975 when the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute was created as a result of the 1975 General Assembly enacting Senate Bill 785 and the signing of legislation by the governor. It called for the director of the Institute to report directly to the chancellor, giving fire and emergency services training the utmost importance. The creation of the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Services in 1976 and the Maryland Fire Rescue Education and Training Commission of the then State Board for Higher Education in 1977 have been important steps in further rendering high-quality service to the clients of emergency service organizations. Again, Charlie Riley from Abingdon Fire Company served as a commissioner and also the chair of the Maryland Fire Rescue Education Training Commission. On June 1st, 1976, a master plan to establish and operate regional training centers for training firefighters and rescue personnel in the state of Maryland was presented to the Chancellor of the University of Maryland College Park. We enjoyed the training at the Northeast Regional Training Center as a result of that plan. Chief Charlie Riley was instrumental in that plan. Copies of the plan were submitted to the university, the governor, and the members of the Maryland Senate and House of Delegates. The 1982 Emergency Services Education and Training Plan of the Maryland Fire Rescue Education Training Commission, which Charlie was the chair at that time, supported many of the common goals and objectives of MIFRE, as well as setting forth some additional ones. The plan called out for more in-station course offerings in the latest techniques to train and equip responders to address the emergency needs throughout the state by providing instruction and hands-on training in local fire stations. At that time, they also established the pre-basic training, and Charlie was very involved in that, to prepare personnel prior to taking formalized training. The Strong Instructor Training Program has been in existence since 1952, modified and enriched many times, and in keeping with today's NFPA 1041 standards for the fire service instructor professional qualifications. The Maryland Instructor Certification Board was created by the Maryland Fire Rescue Education Commission, and guess who was chairman at the time? Somebody from Abingdon, Charlie Raleigh. Maryland also created the Maryland Fire Service Professional Qualifications Board. At that same period, Charlie was chair of the commission and led that creation, and MIFRE participates as a strong supporter of the Maryland Fire Certification Network and National Board. Training and education is one of the most effective means by which Maryland can continue to reduce its tragic loss of life and painful injuries due to fire. The goals set forth in America Burning are supported by all of MIFRE's plans. History and case studies reveal that good education and training are a very large part of the recipe for providing successful emergency responders. I'd like all of you to my right that have participated, completed training courses, please stand and be acknowledged. With the present resources of the University of Maryland's Fire Rescue Institute further enhanced by the implementation and recommendations of these plans, the next decade should be a very exciting period of history for the state fire and rescue training. And I want to just also change gears a little bit. And the members sitting to my right heard me say this at the banquet. I've enjoyed an outstanding relationship with Abingdon Fire Company for 57 years. And I remember very much when I first joined in 1968 as a cadet in Bel Air. We came to Abingdon for training, and the officers, Howard, you were involved at the time. I think you and Charlie kind of shook me a little bit because I got out of line, but that's okay. Yeah, Cubby, thanks. But I've enjoyed that relationship. I'm very proud of what Abingdon Fire Company does every day. I certainly look forward, as the Chief of Bel Air, for you coming to assist us as we provide service to the citizens of Harford County. Congratulations on 100 years, and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. What Steve brought to the table, and again, before I turn this over, because the next person coming up really deserves to speak to all of us. Coming back after a little hiatus in a jurisdiction not in the state of Maryland, I can tell you firsthand that on our worst day, we are great. Take that for what it's worth. We are great. Rick Ayers and I were sitting in the office, I think it was yesterday, maybe, I don't know, we talk every day, who knows. We had a discussion about staffing, and that's the big thing today is staffing. We talked about response issues. Everybody's got their good days. Everybody's got their not so good days. But coming back from where I was, you were lucky if you got a medic unit or even a BLS ambulance within an hour of the 911 call. Let that sink in for a minute, an hour. The engine might show up. Might. Structure fire incident was 2 engines if you're lucky. That depends on whether the 2 neighboring companies were playing in the same sandbox together that particular day. So, yes, we can be critical. We should be somewhat. But there is a thing called constructive criticism. There is a thing called unity, as I said before. But believe me, take it from somebody who's been there. We have the best system known in this country. No exception. Career volunteer, I don't have to say any more. You know it, we know it. We need to beat our chest a little bit and say we're good, we can always do better, but daggone it, we're good. So with that said, I'd like to turn the podium over now to the president of the Abingdon Fire Company, Mr. Nate Irvin.
Welcome to the 100th anniversary celebration of Abingdon Fire Company. I wanted to extend my sincere thanks to the county representatives and all who have taken time to join us during the celebration of our dedicated volunteers of Abingdon Fire Company. Past 100 years have brought both challenges and changes, but our volunteers have continued to step up and meet the need of the community with unwavering commitment. It takes a special group of individuals to serve in the capacity, and we are incredibly fortunate to have this group of volunteers supporting the community through Abingdon Fire Company. Our core mission remains to positively impact the community, especially during the most difficult and darkest times. Whether it's providing EMS, fire, or administrative support, each role plays a critical part in the success. Without the hard work and collaboration of our administrative, fire, and EMS members, we would not be able to serve the community in the way that we do. I want to thank each and every one of you for your dedicated support, not only to Abingdon Fire Company, but to the citizens of Harford County.
I just want to acknowledge another person from Abingdon Fire Company. It's not really on this, but it deserves recognition. This gentleman's been around as long as I have, and longer. We talk a lot, we laugh a lot, we share a lot of stories, we share a lot of opinions. We might disagree on a thing or two, but that's okay. That's human, that's good nature. But I don't know many people in this county that are as dedicated, as committed, and as mission-driven as the Chief of the Abingdon Fire Company, Albert Cubby Bear. Another honored representative that's here today that does bear mentioning, you know, Charlie and Sis had a couple of really amazing kids. And Chip, I'll leave that to the imagination. He made me promise before the ceremony today that I wouldn't say anything about some of the shenanigans we used to get involved in, but I will hold that promise for now. That being said, after Charlie's passing, Chip and his brother Bruce, who's also with us today, and it's so good to see you and thank you for being here, developed a scholarship program to benefit our younger people. And it's called the Charlie Riley Scholarship Foundation, and it has seen tremendous success through an administrative board comprised of Chip and Bruce and several other people, to also include past chief and president of Level Volunteer Fire Company, Gene Worthington, and some other notable individuals. And again, Charlie's legacy, Sis's legacy, his wife, Chip and Bruce's mom, lives on in the administration and the execution of those scholarship awards on an annual basis. And we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for that. Very much appreciated.
And Steve, thank you for the kind words. And Ben, wow, it just brought tears to my eyes. And I wrote this down, and it's not quite as long as Dad would have done, but pretty long. The last time I was standing up here was just about to the day, 20 years ago with you, Cubby, doing Dad's last call. And man, how time flies. That was still see that every year, and at the foundation we show it, and boy, I lose it. Our family wants to thank Abingdon Fire Company for including us on this momentous occasion. I want to thank you, Rick, wherever you are, there you are, for having me on the committee. It's so greatly appreciated. But first, I am humbled and honored to be standing here before you. This would not be possible if it wasn't for the grace, honor, and glory of God and our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. My family has been blessed to be a small part of Abingdon Fire Company's history. My roots and fire service career foundation started here at Abingdon, and I'm so grateful. Our mother, Sis Riley, for decades was a member here of the Ladies Auxiliary. She served as secretary-treasurer for most of her time here, and she is a member of the Hartford Cecil Ladies Auxiliary Hall of Fame. Now our father, Charlie Riley. Faith, family, and fire service was his life. He absolutely loved Abingdon Fire Company. Joined in the early 1950s, was an active member until his passing in 2005. He served in every fire line office and was chief from 1969 to 1973. He was also vice president, treasurer, and secretary. Some remember that old International pickup truck you could hear from a mile away. In the late 1960s, he became delegate at Abingdon Fire Company at the Maryland State Firemen's Association Convention in Ocean City, Maryland. He came up through the ranks and became president of the MSFA in 1983 to 1984. He was a big part of many laws and programs that changed the fire service here in Maryland and nationally. He was chairman for many years of the Legislations Committee. And I did not prepare this ahead of time. No. He was the head lobbyist for the state fire and EMS system here in Maryland. Many of his accomplishments are the smoke detector and sprinkler laws you still have today. He and the committee passed Maryland income tax subtraction, which reduced state income tax for approximately 8,500 active volunteer fire company members in the state. He helped in the funding and transfer of the state medevac system from the old Rangers to the newer Dolphin helicopters at the time. He was also thrilled to be a part of the inception of the state retirement system for the volunteer fire and EMS personnel. There are many more accolades, but there are a few he was so honored to be a part of. He was also honored to have been appointed by 4 different Maryland governors to be the chairperson of the Maryland Fire Rescue Education Training Commission. He served at that position for 14 years, and he was so honored to be the key person involved in starting the satellite training centers around the state of Maryland for the Maryland Fire Rescue Institute. The first one was the Northeast Regional Training Center, placed right here on the Aberdeen side of APG. Since then, a new facility has been built in his memory on the Edgewood side of APG. There were many more committees and programs he was involved with locally and nationally. He is in the Hartford Cecil and MSFA Halls of Fame. Our father also loved involving many friends and members from Abingdon Fire Company to be active members on many state fire committees. Dad was so passionate about the fire service. One thing he always said to everyone he came across in his travels across the state and nationally is, Abingdon Fire Company is home. He was so proud to be from this company. He let everyone know where he was from. One of the last committees he was part of before his passing was chairperson of the fire station building committee. That fire station is the one you are in right now. One of his favorite positions in the fire company was being a member of the board of directors for over 20 years. The board of director room is now named after him, and what an honor. Lastly, this place is my family's childhood foundation, friendships, love for community, and most of all, you are our family. Our family has been extremely blessed to have been a part of Abingdon Fire Company. God bless, and never forget where you've come from, Abingdon Fire Company. Thank you.
Thanks, Chip. Bruce, do you have anything you'd wish to say? Okay, Chip said it all. I'm not surprised. Okay. Next person deserves an introduction, but everybody knows him. He's been around again since time immemorial, and I say that in a good way. He served as secretary of the Harford County Volunteer Fire and EMS Association in my previous terms as president back in the early 2000s. He was a counselor, he was an advisor, he was a friend, he was a confidant. I'd ask Bill Dusa to come forward, please.
When Rick asked me to do this, I was a little concerned, and I'm glad Steve Cox actually did his history, because I'm going to talk a little bit about history too, with the history of the EMS in Harford County. A few years ago, we started a group called the EMS Foundation, and there are a couple of people here who could probably do this better than I can. Ben Kurtz, Tom Shack. At any rate, Rick gave me 5 minutes, so I've got a sort of a presentation to put together here. In the year 2000, the Harford County Volunteer Medical Services were all volunteer. We had no paid people, and at that time, the volume of calls was about 8,000 calls per year. It took us a little over 10 minutes to get to a call with an ambulance, and very often it took us over 20 minutes to get an ambulance to a call. County Executive Jim Harkins directed John O'Neill, who was his director of administration, to come to the association and see what we could do about that. It was apparent that we would have to start paying people to do some of the EMS operations that we were doing. The association got together, we created a task force. Ben and Tom were members of the task force. It was probably the best group of people that I've ever worked with in the fire service. It was a pretty amazing group. We actually took 2 years to complete a study. It was a 3-volume book. We looked at history from other jurisdictions, other places in the state. We talked to the association. It was really a big job. After we got through the legal requirements, Department of Labor rules, and all the legal operations that needed to be done, we created a nonprofit organization called the Harford County Volunteer Fire and EMS Foundation. Actually, the foundation name came from Ben. I think he was the one that suggested it. The foundation was actually set up to provide the best EMS service for the citizens of Harford County that we could provide within the given funding that we had. The thought was the task force put together the foundation, and it would last for 5 to 10 years before the county took over the EMS services. The foundation activities actually started in 2005. The incorporation approval was granted then, and the first meeting of the trustees was that year. In 2005, the county actually provided us with just under $1 million so that we could get the operation of the foundation started. Operations were directed by an operations manager, and we had a group of trustees from the 11 fire companies that oversaw the operations and all. The foundation provided clinicians to man the company-owned ambulances and provided augmentation funding for the fire companies to pay those people to man their ambulances. At its peak in 2022, the foundation employed over 100 clinicians and had a budget of just under $9 million. The foundation continued to serve the citizens of Harford County with emergency medical services for 17 years until the nationwide clinician shortages and increased call volume made it impossible to have sufficient clinicians to continue with the pay and benefits that we could pay as part of the foundation. In 2023, the Harford County government created a county emergency medical services under Rick Ayers, actually did an excellent job of the transition from the foundation to a paid service in Harford County. The paid service in Harford County actually allows us to keep EMS clinicians because they provide a retirement system, better benefits, something that we couldn't do as part of the foundation. At the end of foundation operations in 2024, the Harford County EMS was responding to 30,000 EMS calls. Compare that to the 8,000 that we were responding to back in 2000. It's been an incredible ride. Had a wonderful team putting this foundation together, and I thank everybody for their help doing that. And Rick, you deserve great credit for actually doing the transition so smoothly. And now we have, what do we have, 22 ambulances? 17 ambulances. Plus, we actually still have some volunteers in Harford County that I guess about 10% of the calls are being run by volunteers. So with that, little bit of a history lesson of what we did for EMS for the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. As everybody knows, when you have a committee, particularly when you're charged with a responsibility as important as delivery of emergency medical services to citizenry, it can be a challenge. There are differences of opinion within the committee members. There are subcommittees within a committee. And there's an old adage that says, if you want to delay something, give it to a committee. Well, you know what? I will say, and I think Ben and Bill will back me up on this, in those 2 years that we worked to form the committee to include a business plan, which was basically Bill and his late wife Linda's legacy, I don't remember any big impediments. Everybody brought us something to the table. Everybody had an idea. Nobody was rejected out of hand. And yeah, we carried on a lot longer than we thought we would, but here we are today, and I think we're all happy to say that the citizens of Harford County are safe. That being said, another member of the Abingdon Fire Company who I've had the privilege to work alongside with and known for many years. He's, like me, a retired Baltimore County firefighter. He is also a current and active member with the Reisterstown Volunteer Fire Company in Baltimore County, Mr. Steve Yeldhall.
Well, Tom, you said everything I was going to say. Have a good day. No. I want to thank everybody that took the time to show up today. It's my honor, my privilege. It's also my honor and privilege of being part of this organization. We have seen ups and downs. We've seen fights. We've been involved in fights, arguments. We've had things thrown at each other. But we always had one thing in common and one goal, and that was the community, the county, and their visitors. Each one of us brings something to the table, whether you're a firefighter, an EMT, if you're in support services, or if you're upstairs in the administrative area. Everybody brings something. It doesn't matter what it is. And I'm honored that we did that. I started serving in 1990. Took a break several times for military duty, but I came in as a paramedic, a firefighter, driver, operator, special operations, to name a few. I was voted onto the board several times. Why? I have no idea, but I did. Well, that too, yeah. But I started looking for a therapist because it kept on running, and they all quit the fire department because of Cubby, because he just keeps on going to them. During my tenure, we were able to build this station. We were able to build House 2. Thanks to Charlie Riley, Mike Crockett, Steve Strawbridge, Karen Hinkle, we were able to start the first billing system for EMS billing through insurance companies. And that took a huge load off of us, because then we could purchase equipment, paid staffing, and new units to keep up. At one time, we were keeping an ambulance 8 years, and that's unheard of now. They fall apart within the first 3 years, if that far. That was only to supplement the billing that we received, or the money we received from the state, the county, the federal government, as well as our support staff that does an amazing job downstairs with activities for the community. And it's a little upsetting that we don't have more people from the community today honoring 100 years of this company for what we have done, what we put up with throughout the years. I think the community needs to know more about us. Unfortunately, they don't. For the young people, you've got a big job. You've got a huge job, because you've got to try to keep up with your training. You've got to keep up with the run volume and to mentor your replacements. For the old people, that's also our job, is a mentor. We're done with the training. Well, not really, but you know. But we're here to tell you that it never gets easy. If anything, it gets harder. The biggest thing is that we're volunteers, and we sacrifice not only our lives, our families, and our mental capacity, because some of these calls will tear you apart. That will end your career as a volunteer. It can your career as a professional, as well as your family. So for the young people, if you hurt inside, that's still an injury. That means you get to go see someone. And there's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Why am I saying all this stuff? Because I'm also a peer support person with Baltimore County Fire Department and also FEMA. And you've also got people in the company that are also peer support people. A lot of times us older folks will sit back and snicker or give someone a goofy look because of what they say or what they do. And that's because we're unable to keep up with y'all anymore. The computer thing, the TV thing, things like that, I had no idea what you people were doing. But if you want to bring it to the firehouse and get the fire equipment on the road, I'm all for it. It's also important to remember the people that spearheaded this department during the years that I was active. And that would be Charlie Riley, Lou Espy, Jerry Anderson, Steve Strawbridge, Dave Ryan, Linda and Bill Dusa, a huge part, because everything you have now for the medic units are because of them. Steve Pennington, just to name a few, and also Cubby, you can't forget about him, to name a few. But so many of you bring in something special for this organization. Doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's good, it's a positive impact, and we get equipment and training and members doing what we do best, and that's responding to calls. I'm honored and privileged to be in this company. I miss it. Thank you.
The gentleman I'm going to introduce next, many of you know, the family name is a household name, not only in Abingdon, but throughout Harford County. Their family is instilled with the dedication of service in many respects that we don't traditionally think of as service. He's been a past officer, a past board of director member. He is a pillar of this community. He's been a friend to this fire company, to myself, to my family, for longer than I care to tell. I'd like to ask Howard McComas, Sr. to come to the podium, please.
I first have to thank my wife, Judy, for me being here this morning. If you think it's easy to put a suit on with one hand, you're mistaken. And Chief Rick stole a little bit of my thunder, but I'd like to take you back to the early 1920s. And Abingdon was just a little community at the intersection of Abingdon Road and the old Philadelphia Road, which is now Route 7. But it was very sparse and had very little electrical supply, very limited telephone service. Roads were dirt, and someone in the town decided to form a Abingdon Improvement Association. That met at Tucker's Store, which is about 100 yards west of Abingdon Road. And that was the community meeting place. And in 1924, late 1924, they met and brought up the lack of fire service. And as Rick said, the only service they had other than throwing a bucket of water on a fire was calling Bel Air or Aberdeen and to assist. And of course, phone service limited, communications limited. Usually they got there in time to just put some water on the embers. In 1925, the group met, and they were calling themselves at that time a fire brigade. And all they were doing was they did have a group, and they'd respond when they could, and they'd respond with buckets, use the homeowner's water, form a line, throw the water on the fire from the buckets, and again, probably just wet the embers down. So in 1925, when they met at Tucker's Store, they decided to organize officially, call it the Abingdon Fire Company, and they incorporated. In 1926, a gentleman says he's getting tired of carrying buckets and throwing buckets of water on the fire, so let's buy a real fire engine. They bought a Dodge. This was 1926. Bought a Dodge chassis and took it to Philadelphia and had a chemical firefighting unit installed, which had a one booster reel on top. And I'm not quite sure the operation of a chemical fire truck, but they mixed the chemicals that would create the pressure. They carried, I think, a 40-gallon tank. And when that ran out, again, they used the homeowner's or property owner's water supply, which is a well, again, pouring buckets of water into the tank, and the pressure from the chemicals, charged the hose and fought the fire. In 1930, they said it was time to build a station, because prior to that, the chemical truck was kept in a shed behind Tucker's Store. And the Mr. and Ms. Tucker, when they got a phone call, and they were probably the only place in town had phone service, but a call would come in that Mr. Smith's barn was on fire. they pull, Mr. and Ms. Tucker one would pull the engine out, blow the siren, the fellows from around the town would respond, and again, they would proceed to the fire. So in 1930, they purchased a piece of ground on Abingdon Road. It's right across from Cokesbury Church. And they built a firehouse, and that was the original firehouse. Had one bay and a hall. The hall then became the community center where they held different functions and dinners and so forth. In 1940, they bought, I think, I was never clear on this, but I think between 1940 and the chemical truck, they did add or replace the chemical truck with a real fire engine. But in 1940, they purchased a 1940 Mack real fire engine. It had 500 gallons of water and a 250-gallon pump, center mount pump. And you mentioned about ambulances being replaced in 3 years. Well, this engine lasted Abingdon Fire Company for 24 years. And it wasn't replaced until 1964 with another stub nose Mack. In the early 1950s, they added on to the firehouse, added two more bays, and in 1952 purchased a Chevrolet chassis, truck chassis, took it to Baltimore, and Mr. Kilgolf fabricated a 1,200-gallon tank. And Mr. Kilgolf was a member of the fire company, but also a metal fabricator. And he took an old oil tank and converted that into a water tank, and then they installed a portable pump, and that acted as a tank truck. Until 1957, it was just the 40 Mack and the 52 Chevrolet tank truck. In 57, the fire company bought a 1957 Mack fire truck, which then gave them two pumpers and a tank. The 1940 Mack was then moved to the station at Long Bar, which was number 2 station. And then I joined the fire company in 1959 and followed my family's tradition. And I was the 3rd generation Abingdon Fire Company. My daughter, Holly, who had served many years in the auxiliary, became the 4th generation of the McComas family in the Abingdon Fire Company. There are a couple of us here today, one being Tom Schultz, whose dad was present to start the fire company, and then my father and grandfather present. Also, the Tucker store, part of that is still here today. It stands at the top of the hill. It's apartment houses now. And one of the owners was Mr. and Ms. Barker, and Miss Carol Barker is here today. She served as president of auxiliary for many years, so thank you, Carol. I've enjoyed my time active in the fire company and also being a life member, past different officers, held different offices. But number one in my thoughts is the Abingdon Fire Company, which has served the community well, saving lives, property, and I'm honored to be here. And thank all of you and all you young fellows and girls coming along that still serve. Thank you.
The next person I want to call up to the podium deserves an introduction. He's a retired member of the Harford County Sheriff's Office. He's a past president of this company. He's been a good friend of mine, again, longer than I care to tell. He's been the nuts and bolts behind the committee that put this event on for today. I'd ask past President Rick Hampton to come forward, please.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Okay, so this is going to be very from the heart. I had a big speech, so I'm going to talk about a few things. When I started this mission, being a committee member, I was like, wow, this is going to be cool. It's going to be a neat experience. Next thing I know, I am the committee chair. And I'm like, wow, where are we going to go with this? And we started about a year ago. And through this journey, it has been the most humbling thing I have ever experienced in my life. What I have learned through this last year of what Abingdon Fire Company was and is now is amazing. The people I have met during this amazing journey is Mr. Harriet McCombs. Sir, you have been enlightened to me. It's been amazing dealing, helping you, and working through with you and the experiences that you have brought. There's others that have been with me along this journey, and I thank them as well. And look at Roy. He's almost falling asleep. I'm not going to be much longer, I promise. So I started this service in 1986. I was 16 years old. Came to the firehouse, walked in the doors, and I fell in love. I always wanted to be a firefighter. I used to watch Emergency One. That was my thing. I said, wow, here I am. I'm a firefighter. And then I tried for many years to be a career firefighter. That did not work. Never got hired. Then I tried for the sheriff's office. And lo and behold, here I am a deputy. Started out in corrections, and I finished my career in corrections. I spent many, many years of doing different things with the sheriff's office. And one thing the sheriff's office has taught me is how to manage and put together things over the years. One of the fondest things, funniest things you may laugh at is, of course, 16 years old, full of fire, don't want to miss a call. And it's interesting that the B&O Road bridge on Abingdon Road is getting ready to be closed. I was 16 years old, 17 years old or so, and Jan Ryan and I had a pact. They closed the bridge. So I would drive from Otter Point Road, where I lived. I would meet Jan Ryan at B&O Road Bridge. We always came out. There was no cell phones. The only thing we had was little pagers. I'd run across the bridge. He would pick me up, and off we'd go to the firehouse. Interesting. So the next thing, 16 years old, Mark Foster, bless him, he's no longer with us. We had a call for a pregnancy. I get there, and we're delivering a baby. You know, they come out, it's not like what you really think. They're, they're wet, they're slimy, they got all kinds of different things on them. And I'm thinking back to my class, yep, okay, I did this. I can't believe it, I made it. And then the placenta came out. Well, they forgot to tell me that. So I'm sitting here, and this thing comes out of her, and I thought the inside was coming out of this young lady. I'm looking over at Mark, I'm like, I'm not saying a word, I got it. I can do this. So that was, the two things that's been pretty cool. But if we think it back 100 years ago, just think about that for a moment. 100 years. We didn't have enclosed cabs. We didn't have seat belts. We had nothing. The founders before us rode in open cabs. And when I say open cabs, I mean they were driving with nothing over top of them. Okay? Dedicated, hard-working individuals that got us to where we are today. If you think about it, they rode on a tail step, and we fought for a tail step. We wore SCBAs on the back of the tailboards. I remember that. One of the greatest, funnest times of my life. We would be on hose covers. We did awful lot of things to have fun. And it's been some good memories. I'm very happy that I was humble enough to have this experience. And I just want to say one more thing that I was supposed to have on my little paper here. If you remember about the SCBAs, when we started with an SCBA, we had a steel cylinder. And depending on what you had, if you had an MSA, if you had a Scott, we had MSAs at the time, but we had this hose, a little hose that plugged into our regulator, set right here at the waist. We had steel cylinders. We just had a little ding, 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 ding when we got a little air pressure. Then we hit the next gen. So we got this Scott. I'm sorry, we had the MSA green cylinders. They weighed about 150 pounds, very heavy. Gave us an hour of working time in the fire. That was awesome. Then we went to the next gen, which was the Scott Air Pack. It told us all kinds of different things. And now we have the one that we have now. We got LED displays. We got an integrated pass system. We have all this stuff, bloody breathing. So it's amazing of where the fire service was 100 years ago and to where we are today. And I want to take with you, take this with you. Please be committed to the fire service. The volunteers will be here for another 100 years. It may not be like it is today, but we will always have volunteers. I appreciate this. I am very humbled to have this experience of being a committee chair. And I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance today and their support along the way. Thank you.
Let me share an Irish blessing. May your mornings bring joy. May your evenings bring peace. May your troubles grow few as your blessings increase. May your hands be forever clasped in friendship and your hearts joined forever in love. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, draw near to us. Give us strength and courage to face each day with a willing and strong heart to serve and help others. Guide and direct our leadership. Unite us as one for our purpose to save lives and property. In memory of our beloved former leaders, especially Charlie Raleigh, help us to always be doers of the word and stick together. Bless our food and the hands that made it. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the formal part of today's activities. The station remains open. We have a host of displays from the very beginnings, the roots of this company, to the present day. They stretch from the lower level where the hall is, where you can receive and eat your food, to the second floor. We ask you to avail yourselves of those. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the day.